Well, Shelby County election officials don't expect there will be any major problems tomorrow, either at the polls or with ballots being counted. But we've heard that before. Shelby County has a long history with issues, irregularities, and even legal challenges at the polls going back decades. Local 24 News reporter Jenny DePrizio breaks it all down now.
20 years ago, during the 2000 presidential election, it was 9:30 at night before the last voter cast their ballot in Shelby County. Hundreds of voters had been routed to the Election Commission due to concerns about their voter registration. And while it was chaotic here in Shelby County, no one would predict what would happen next.
It was Al Gore versus George Bush, and the election problem in Shelby County was a small hiccup compared to what was happening in other parts of the country. Election results were so close that in Florida, there was a total ballot recount. For more than a month, Americans didn't know who was going to win the election.
You remember that it was Florida where all of those popular terms started surfacing, called hanging chads and dimple chads and swinging chads and all of that. That became part of our conversation because they were doing a hand recount of paper ballots.
It was a U.S. Supreme Court ruling that finally declared Bush the winner. That election night was hardly unique. Elections in Shelby County have had their own legal challenges over decades. We've seen lawsuits filed or claims of improprieties connected to nearly every election cycle in Shelby County. Political analyst Otis Sanford says it's par for the course.
That's the nature of voting. There's always going to be something. There's always going to be somebody who's going to be upset. There's always going to be somebody complaining about something that even happened at an early voting site. Intimidation is an issue this year. Voter suppression is an issue this year.
We've heard all our life about dead people voting. Well, we proved that they did.
Former Shelby County Commissioner Terry Rowland has firsthand experience about how Shelby County elections can go wrong. In 2005, he lost his state Senate race against Ophelia Ford after a dead voter scandal. A lawsuit and federal investigation eventually resulted in 3 poll workers being indicted for casting ballots in the name of dead voters. In addition to dead people voting, Sanford says in Shelby County, until 2010 or so, many of the legal challenges were connected to Democrats questioning machines and how ballots were counted because Republicans continued to win county elected positions.
The Democrats always said that there was some shenanigans or some problem, and there usually were. Now, the Election Commission always tried to minimize those problems, but they were problems nonetheless.
The problems were significant enough that in 2012, a state audit found the Election Commission demonstrated an inability to conduct elections without significant inaccuracies, though the review found no evidence of intentional misconduct or an intention to affect the election process or outcomes. Since that audit, personnel and policy changes were put into place, and Sanford says the past several elections and so far this election have run much smoother.
Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow night? But at least up to now, the Shelby County Election Commission has done a really good job.
Sanford hopes this year we don't have a repeat of what happened 2 decades ago, and the presidential winner will be declared sooner rather than later.
I don't think anybody in 2000 expected what happened. They thought, I think most people thought that Al Gore was going to win the election. That's what most people thought. So nobody was really fixated on any real problems until they happened. This year is different. Everybody is anticipating some problems.
Jenny DePrizio, Local 24 News.
Depend on Local 24 News for your election night coverage, both on air and online. And before you head to the polls tomorrow, check out our voter guide created just for you on localmemphis.com/vote. We've also made it easy to get our guide on your phone if you want. Just text the word vote to 901-321-7520 to get a link to that guide sent right to you. And of course, make sure you watch Local 24 News for our coverage of the local and national races all day tomorrow.